Hello, hello, everyone. I am so excited to see you today. And I am just really thrilled because we're going to have such an amazing conversation today, one like I've never even had before. And so I'm really excited that you're joining in. And just for those of you who are joining in for the first time, this is week two of this series called Self Care for Black Moms. And this week, we're talking about self care for Black moms during menopause. And I think for any of us who are in that phase, and regardless of the age, but any phase of it in that season of life, there's just a lot that comes up for us in terms of just kind of what we're experiencing. And if any of you were with me last week when we talked about emotional self care, we know that it all starts with awareness. And that's the first step into really moving forward to self care. And so today I have with me none other than Candace McLaren Lanham, who's going to be coming to the stage. Hi, Candace.
Hey,
And so,
Pamela.
Candace, share a little bit about your community, and then right away, everyone's going to know why you're here.
Thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm so
Yeah,
excited to be here. Dr.
awesome.
Pamela and I have become good friends and colleagues over the last few months, and I am
Yeah,
excited to talk to your community today about menopause, something that I am in the throes of, and that many members of my community understand all too well.
yeah.
The group that I have founded is called the 40 Mom Movement, LLP. The model is to celebrate and support Black and Brown moms 40 and over who have
Hmm.
decided to become moms in this midlife season, right?
Yeah,
So it's a
yeah.
lot of moms who are becoming moms for the first time,
Hmm.
40 and over, who are having younger
Yeah,
children after having older children, and women who want to become moms when they're 40 and
yeah,
over. And that,
yeah.
of course, comes with perimenopause and menopause not long
It
after the birth
does.
of a child.
It
So here we
does.
are. Here we are.
Yes, yes. And I shouldn't act like I'm exempt in any way because I'm going through it also. And as I was sharing with Candace earlier, and I think some of you may be able to speak to this, is the fact that, my doctor never even talked about it with me. And it was, actually, I was in a group with someone probably just a little over a year ago, a social
Mhm,
media group.
mhm.
And she had a business focused on menopause. And I thought, oh, wow. And the way she talked about it, I'm thinking, like, oh, I have those symptoms. But I didn't even think about it that way. I didn't even know, and even know that, there were solutions at all. And I think that's, the part that was, really most hurtful. But I never heard it from my doctor.
Which
So,
is insane,
yeah.
right? It's insane.
Hello there,
And
Quelly.
hey, Quayle, Dr. Quayle. That's my Spellman sister right there. We were just talking about this before we came on the air. If
Hmm.
men suffered perimenopause and menopause, this would be an exact science by now. And it is so
Right.
far from it. Most
Yeah.
of what we learn, even today, where you have all these
Mhm.
celebrities and all these notable
Yes.
women who are bringing it to the forefront, who are making it
Mhm.
known, who are making the conversation
Right.
palatable and acceptable, we're still learning most of it through social
Right.
media and through
Right.
groups of
Right.
like-minded women who are in the same
Mhm.
season who say, hey, my doctor put me on this. And you're like, what? Tell me
Yeah.
more.
I
I'm
know,
experiencing
right?
this. That's menopause too. Tell me about that.
Yes.
It really
Yeah.
is still so much word of mouth. And for such a
Hmm.
major medical event, which is such a
Right.
major life disruption for
Hmm.
years, it is
Yeah.
insane to me that it can be
Hmm.
such a blip on the radar
Right.
for so many doctors. It doesn't
Right.
make sense.
Right. And you bring up something that, I think oftentimes we don't really discuss enough is the length of time. Because I feel like for me personally, I've probably been in perimenopause for maybe 10 or 15
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
and, it's still extended into menopause. And
Yeah.
so that long time period, makes it all the more critical for us in terms of how we deal with it, cope with it. How do we still thrive with it,
Yeah.
is what I
No,
would say.
I think I've read that 5 to 10 years is generally like the average for menopause, which is insane,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's a lifetime. And
Yeah.
I was telling you, my mom, sorry for putting you on blast, mommy. My mom was going through menopause, perimenopause for 10 years and never mentioned it. Never mentioned it. It
Hmm.
wasn't until my
Yeah.
sister and I were adults, probably about
Hmm.
5 or so years ago, 10 years ago, when we started experiencing these weird symptoms. And we finally asked her
Yeah.
about it. And she said, "Oh, yeah, I was going through it for 10 years." What?
Mm.
How do
I
you
know,
not?
right?
How do you not mention that? Like, what in the world? And it just,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
is again, for it to occupy
Hmm.
such a swath of time, and
Right.
we still have to wonder, like, am I in it? Is
Yeah,
this it? Is
exactly.
this symptom related to that? It
Yes.
just
Yes.
is, it's wild. It's a wild notion that women are
Yeah.
still wondering in this day and age
Yeah.
what it's all about. What does it mean, and what
Hmm.
can they do
Yeah.
to make things better for themselves?
Right. And for me, my mom gave birth to me in her late 40s. And so when
She was a
she
maverick
passed,
mom. We call those
yes,
maverick
yes,
moms.
she was definitely a maverick mom because I'm the youngest of nine. And so it was just kind of like, really? I was definitely a little bit of a surprise. But with that, when she passed away, I was 30. And so I never had that conversation with her. I don't know,
How would
kind of
you?
what that was like,
Yeah.
but I know that she had to have been going through, perimenopause and menopause, all of
And
that,
with 9 children, can
Yeah,
you imagine
yeah,
going through it with
right.
9 children? I have one,
Yeah,
and I think I'm
yeah.
losing my mind half the time. Your mother was a warrior, because you're right. She definitely had to have been going through it.
Yeah,
And we do
yeah.
what women do. We push forward, we
Mhm.
push it down, we keep
Yeah,
moving.
yeah.
You suffer through the pain,
Mhm.
and you suffer in silence. It's not
Yeah, you
something
do.
that our moms' generations talked about. And as
That's
we are
true.
saying now, it's still not
Mhm.
something that's as openly talked about as it needs to be, even for
Yeah.
us now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with that, I think that it's all the more important for us to think about, those ways that we can still take care of ourselves, because that self care is so important.
Yeah,
And I often, talk about, self care in, these 8 pillars. And I think that your community, Candace, is a form of self care.
I
And
agree.
so I don't know if you ever really thought about it in that way, but
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. The 3 pillars of my community are conversation, connection, and community.
yeah,
And I always talk about, when you're a 40 plus mom, I mean, the things that are
yeah,
relevant to you run the gamut. It's everything from
yeah.
teething to tantrums to trust and estates and beyond, right?
Hmm.
And
Right.
menopause and perimenopause are those
Yeah.
conversations that we have all the time. I got a group of women together on Zoom last night, and of course, that was one of the
Yes.
topics of conversation, because it is something that we are dealing with. I know self-care for
Hmm.
me, and it depends on your symptoms, right? Because
Yeah.
I the flashing and the heat is
Uh-huh.
one of my main symptoms. So I know, for example, when I go into my son's bedroom to rock him to bed at night, I have to put on a short sleeve shirt, because if I go in there with the sweater or the sweatshirt on,
Hmm.
I feel like I'm going to erupt and burst into flame.
Yeah.
So those kind of management things, the brain fog for me is so thick. If I don't write something down, I used to be able to remember everything and anything.
Hmm.
If I don't write it down now, or put that pen I'm going to need on the table where I'm going to see it, it's gone. It's gone in the
Yeah.
ether. So you
Yeah.
have these coping mechanisms that you develop just to be able to make it from point A to point B in 1 minute to the
Yeah.
next, without having to have your day and your progress disrupted by these
Hmm.
symptoms. But the
Yeah.
symptoms are so vast. I mean, you talk to one woman, it impacts her completely differently than it impacts
Right.
the next.
Right. Right.
Community is key. Community
It
is
is. It really is. It really is. And one thing that comes to mind for me, which has been a self care practice, and for those of you who are joining in, listening, Melanie and Dr. Quayle, I would love for you to also chime in on this. But I feel like these morning rituals that I have been, that form of self care that's really supported me through this season of menopause,
mm-hmm,
because with having those specific daily rituals, I can have that sense of peace in
yep,
the mornings,
yep,
before my day gets so disrupted. And
mm,
also, too, when I'm having those moments, of brain fog, I feel like that time that I've had to myself, whether it's through my gratitude practice or just having my morning tea
mm-hmm,
ritual, um, I can, kind of deal with that in a way that doesn't doesn't make me feel so. I'm trying to think of the word for it, but you know how you can really kind of beat yourself up when
yeah,
you're in those moments
yeah,
of brain fog. I often would say a senior moment,
yeah,
but just kind of feeling like, yeah, I can still be valued, in my
absolutely.
work and the things that I'm doing, even though I have these moments where I am not as clear on things.
The things I think, perimenopause and menopause are so significant because they impact literally every facet of our lives. It's not
Yeah.
just the physical, it's not just the psychological. I mean, it is the emotional. I was reading a
Oh,
LinkedIn
yeah.
post literally before we came on. A woman was did a beautiful post about
Mhm.
menopausal rage, which is actually a thing,
Really?
right? I mean,
Hmm.
the emotional aspect of it, I mean, it's
Yeah.
exacerbated by lack of sleep and the brain fog and everything else, but there are so many hormonal
Hmm.
changes taking place that
Wow.
I do think when you talk about these peaceful rituals you have in the morning, I think there is truly there's a basis in medicine for why these are helpful,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
it's helping to quiet the mind, it's probably helping
Mm.
all the levels of the good hormones and things that come up and battle
Wow.
stress and I mean,
Yeah.
we need doctors who really take a holistic approach to these type of things. You can't
Hmm.
just parse out, take
Yeah.
this for the hot flash and this for the brain fog because there's so many parts to this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where the care comes in. It's really
Mm.
determining how it's impacting you and then
Yeah.
figuring out, right, who can help you get
Exactly.
that puzzle, put the puzzle together.
Exactly. Yeah, someone posted in about being a runner and symptoms getting worse after a race.
That's so
And I'm telling you, I'm a runner too. I have a race coming up this weekend. I'm doing my Virginia race.
yeah.
And I hadn't noticed that at all. But I think it gets back to your point, Candace, about how it can vary, in terms of, how one woman may have a totally different
Yep.
symptom than someone else.
Yep.
And so thank you for sharing that, because now I'm going to be a little bit more aware and noticing if that's the case with me.
Hmm.
Dr. Quelly mentioned about morning rituals, and your morning pages. Oh, that sounds beautiful. Yeah. And, I'm thinking that, Dr. Quelly, you may be doing the artist way. Is that what you're doing with the morning pages? I've been doing those
She might
too.
have her own morning pages.
Yeah.
Dr. Quayle's got all sorts of stuff she's
Uh-huh.
putting out. Um,
Oh, yes. Big T.
yes, Big T. Her
Yeah.
mama didn't prepare her for this. Girl, our poor
Yes.
mamas were
I
going through it in
know,
silence. They
right?
didn't
They
know.
didn't.
Um,
Okay. Oh,
Melanie.
okay. Wow.
It's true.
Awesome, Melanie. Okay.
That's right. And it's true, they do evolve. They really do. It's like you think,
Yes,
oh,
they
okay, I'm getting
do.
better because now I'm flashing less, but then
Mhm.
something else comes in. Frozen
Yeah.
shoulder. I don't know if you've heard that, Dr. Pam. Frozen shoulders, so many women suffer
Uh,
from that. That's a menopausal symptom where you suddenly can't raise your arm above your head anymore. Your shoulder
really?
just freezes. I don't know why, but that is a menopausal symptom that doctors treat all the time. It's so
Wow.
random. It's
Yeah,
so
that
random.
is. Now, I haven't heard of that. I definitely have a lot of soreness in my shoulders lately that I've noticed, and I've just been going to get sports massages
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
for
Which
it.
probably
But yeah,
doesn't hurt. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, but I don't know if it's been completely frozen. So, wow, that's really a unique one for sure.
And
Now,
sadly, not very
hmm
unique because it
yeah,
strikes a lot of women. If you start talking to women, people are like, "Oh my God, you too, you too." And
yeah,
I
yeah.
heard the other day ear itching. If your ear has been itching, it's just it's so weird. But yeah, so many different varied symptoms that can impact us. So we have to find
Wow,
ways to care for
yeah, Dr.
ourselves. Whatever
Quayle.
works. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Quayle,
Yeah,
frozen shoulder and joint pain for sure.
yeah,
Know the
yeah,
joint pain well.
yeah. And back to the comment about the running for me has been physical
Mhm.
self-care
Yeah.
because I've certainly found that as I have aged, it's a little bit harder. I'm not running as fast, but still getting out there. And at one point, I do watch my weight, and I found that
Oh, girl.
it's a lot harder to lose it. I think during
And the weight gain
menopause.
is another
Yeah,
side effect of menopause,
yes,
and it is
yeah,
much, much harder to lose. It is
yeah,
much harder to
yes.
lose. So,
So we have a lot in store for us in terms of just kind of staying on top of it.
mhm.
Oh man, 4 months. Wow.
See?
Wow. Yeah. And the hot flashes, yeah, those are definitely one that I had in the beginning,
Mhm.
even though, now I don't notice it as much, but certainly the hot flashes were there. And I just figured at first, I just thought, I just need lighter weight pajamas or something, but just didn't even realize
And you and I
that
were
was just part
talking
of the
like
season.
because perimenopause can last
Mhm.
for literally a decade. I've
Yeah.
been looking back now. I did a video on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago where I was
Mhm.
talking about Gabrielle Union and her
Yeah.
trek through menopause and her
Hmm.
comments that she's made about it. And in looking back, I'm thinking back on these episodes of
Yeah.
sheer heat, like, rain
Yeah.
pouring off your forehead and you're about to pass out and your clothes are soaking wet. And I just thought, oh, it was a really
Hmm.
hot day. I'm like,
Yeah.
that probably was a hot flash. No one, I didn't know that, I didn't name it. I didn't
Right.
recognize it. Now, 10 years
Right.
later, I'm like, that probably was a hot flash. It, we
I know,
normalize
right?
it. We explain these things away. We keep
Yeah,
moving. It's often not until one of our
yeah,
friends says, that's a this. And then you say, what? I never knew that.
exactly, exactly. And I think that's the thing that becomes so damaging, and especially for us as Black women, and from your community, Black and Brown women, is normalizing.
Right.
That's where there's the danger, because when we start to normalize it, then it's okay for us to suffer.
Yeah.
It's okay for us to be in less optimal conditions,
Yeah.
and it's just considered, it is what it is.
That's exactly it. That's
And
exactly
that's
it.
not the case at all.
No.
It doesn't have to be that way.
I was telling you, I started on hormone replacement therapy a few months ago. It's only been for me,
No,
it's been
you
less.
didn't tell me, really.
Oh, yeah. So, no, HRT, I started on that a few months ago.
Okay.
It's been less than a year. And I was saying,
Mhm.
and I went to my doctor, my GYN, and talked about it because women in my circle were talking about it. And I said, well, let me have this
Really?
conversation. It's definitely helped.
Uh-huh.
I have a conversation with her. We have a telehealth appointment on Wednesday because I want to
Yeah.
say to her, like, how should I feel? Right? Like, are you to just deal with the hot flashes or can we actually get rid of them? The mood swings, can they be regulated or is it something you have to deal with? You don't
Yeah.
even know what baseline to set for yourself and what goals to reach for because everything has been
Yeah.
so normalized.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so, we often have to teach ourselves and from our communities, listen to other people and say, no, when I went on this, like that symptom went away. And when I did this combination, it really helped with this. And
Hmm.
then you go back to your doctors and you go to Google and you check things out and you try to learn for yourself as much as you can. But we really have to
Yeah.
advocate for ourselves, and we can't do that without the information, which again is
Right.
why community is so important, because that's
Yes,
often our main
absolutely.
source of information.
Yes, it sure is. So have you noticed any changes yet since you've been?
I have. I think
Yeah.
my mood swings have definitely, I don't know if my husband would agree, but I feel like my mood swings have evened out a little bit, and the
Mm,
hot flashes are not as regular, for
yeah.
sure. So
Yeah.
those are two good side effects. But I still feel like, again, like in terms of the brain fog and things like that, I'm like, there's got to be more that I can
Yeah.
gain from this. And I think it's like with a lot of meds that we take, that are geared towards our mental health. You have to kind of figure out the right combination and the right dosage
Yeah.
and the right type. I don't think it's
Yeah.
something you necessarily go and you get that prescription and you're
Right.
just you're off to the races. I think you constantly have to keep pushing and saying, I think I can get better.
Hmm.
I think I can
Yeah.
do better. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, the doctors aren't gonna check per se and say, how's that working for you? Some will, some won't.
Right.
Yours
Right.
never mentioned it. How is that?
I know. My doctor never said
Well, if you're with a
anything
different
about it.
doctor now, because that's crazy.
Yes, I am.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes, totally with a different doctor now. But yeah, the first one she didn't mention
And it was
it.
a she?
Yeah. Yeah, she
Oh,
did
shame
not
on
mention it.
her.
Yeah, it really is. And the thing about it is she was very quick to, prescribe, always prescribing things. And she never mentioned that though. Yeah, I
That's
definitely don't remember ever mentioning it. And because she likes to prescribe so much, I'm sure that if there was anything out available at the time, she would have brought it up just for the sake of prescribing.
yeah,
So no.
that's a
Mm-mm.
shame. That
Yeah, it
really
really
is.
is. It really is. But nevertheless, um, there was there was something else I wanted to just mention and ask you about. What would you say, Candace, was a key takeaway from your conversation last night? I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall
Oh,
during that conversation. I'm
we had
sure it was
such a good
great.
time. We had such a good time. And
Mhm.
you know what was so interesting, and this is a little
Yeah.
off topic, but I'll bring it back. Of the,
Hmm.
we had about 23 women on the Zoom,
Uh
and
huh.
I don't make me do the math, but
Yeah.
percentage wise, there was a high number of those women who
Hmm.
had discovered that they were neurodivergent. So, for example, ADHD as adults.
Really.
A lot of them, I would say probably maybe
Mm.
five or six of the women that were there, and some
Yeah.
of them had discovered it when getting treatment for their kids, and then they're saying, these
Hmm.
sound familiar. But one of the things that was so interesting was that one of the women
Mm.
talked about how her ADHD was becoming exacerbated by her perimenopause. And it makes sense, right? Because we're
Mm.
going through all of these emotional issues, the brain fog already. And so
Mhm.
when you're in a situation like ADHD, where organization can be difficult, and give us the tea, and keeping track of things can be difficult, and you're trying to focus, can be difficult. I could see how
Mm.
something like
Wow.
perimenopause could come in and just make things that much more difficult. So it just, I mean, I can't say it enough. Like, it is just something that we have to discuss. We have to be able to talk about with each other, because we learn from each other. When we talk about our experiences, then other people can
Mm.
see themselves and say, oh my gosh, that's what's happening with me, right? Just like you said, Dr. Pam,
Yeah.
you were like,
Yeah.
oh, it's not just my pajamas, right? It's
Yeah.
not just that the heat is turned up too high. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going through
Mm.
perimenopause. That's wild.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. You
yeah.
just touched on something. Yeah, it was a little bit of a tangent, but the neurodivergent thing is really something that I've been wanting to talk about.
I was
And
surprised by how many of our sisters are
yeah.
impacted by it. And
Yeah.
again, same thing we're talking about now, where culturally perimenopause and menopause was just not something that was discussed by our parents' generation.
Right.
And when you're talking about ADHD and these sorts of neurodivergences, that
Yeah.
wasn't something, we didn't have language for that back
No,
then.
we
You
did
just were a
not.
hyper kid. You needed to sit down and do your work and,
You rode on the big bus or
that's
whatever,
right.
and that
Yeah.
was it. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now that
Yeah.
moms, especially 40 plus moms, want better for their kids, they're finally seeing what the doctors are telling them about their kids. They're like, "Oh my God, this is something I've been masking for decades." And they're finally saying, "I can do something about this for myself." It is so there are a lot of parallels there, but
Mm.
it was a
Yes.
fascinating topic that
Oh,
I
wow.
wasn't familiar with. I definitely am going to delve into it more with my mama community
Mm.
too. It's something, again, we need to talk about more of in our
We
community.
definitely do. We
Yeah.
definitely do. Wow. Wow. Well, Candace, thank you for this. This has been
I'm so excited.
wonderful.
Thank
And
you. I know we
I
could go
just
on for an
really
hour.
appreciate you
Oh, I appreciate it
sharing
too.
and just, yeah, just thank you so very much. Yes, Tiana, that's exactly the way we never talk about it, never
Yeah.
talk about it. And that's why, we get into the situations that we
Yeah.
get into like this, just really not knowing how to take care of
Because
ourselves. Yeah,
isolation is the antithesis of self-care.
it
That's
is.
really what people need to leave here with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It sure is. So I want to thank you all so much for joining in. This was such a great conversation and just appreciated all your comments as well and engagement. Please do join me next week. I am going to be talking about financial self care. And so that's something that we definitely need to talk about. And we know that growing up, you didn't talk about money. You didn't talk about money. You didn't know how much money people made. And so that needs to be a conversation that we start having as well.
Exactly.
And talking about it with our kids also,
For
because
sure.
we certainly don't talk about it with our kids enough. So we're going to be talking about financial self care next week. And what do you have going on, Candace? Anything you want to share in
Thank you.
closing?
Yeah, I'm really
Yeah.
excited. My business, the 40
Uh
mom
huh.
movement, we're growing. We just soft launched a few months ago. We now
Yes.
have a Facebook page I would love for people to check out. Certainly follow me,
Mm-hmm.
Candace McLaren Lanham, on LinkedIn. We've been having virtual events for those
Yeah.
in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area. I'm going to be having an in-person event in the next couple weeks.
Oh, really
And
good.
yeah, just giving moms an opportunity to come together and really feel the
Mm-hmm.
support and the celebration. So more
Yeah.
to come in the year ahead. I'm really excited about what we're building.
That's so great. And when you start inviting moms who have old kids, I'll show up.
And look, a lot of them do. Look, a lot of we women, we've got the newborn and the 20-year-old. So
I know.
we
Oh,
do it
yeah.
all.
I'm definitely over 40, but my kids are grown.
You are welcome anytime, my love. Anytime. You are an honorary 40
Yes.
plus mom. We got
All
you.
right, then. I'm there. Thank
Good.
you so much. And talk to you later, everyone. Appreciate you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.